All right, once again, we're just happy to meet with you. Let's just begin. Lord, we thank you for a day like today, wonderful, windy, and beautiful. Thank you for those who are listening. Hope they will respond to this and get something out of it. Our lesson today is dealing with return of joy, the return of joy, which means it was absent, it was gone, there was nothing, nobody, nothing going on. Um, the unifying topic is a vision of restoration. That's what made the whole difference. All the stuff that's going on wrong, all of a sudden there is a vision of restoration. Um, and then, our lesson is at Zephaniah chapter 3, 14 through 16 and 17 through 20. Uh, the lesson text is without fear. Don't have to have fear. Renewed in his love. Everything is renewed in the love of God. The main thought, behold, at that time I will undo all afflictions, all that afflicted thee, all that afflicted you, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. Everywhere they've been put to shame, the Lord is going to turn that thing for them. Now, what a prophecy. The prophet comes in at a sad time in their life. Nothing going on right. Nothing going on like they wanted to go on. They are in trouble, and the prophet shows up and said, hey, the Lord got a time when he's going to return our joy. All right. Unifying principle. Oppression of the poor and the powerless seem pervasive in the world. Is there any hope for reversal of this condition? Is there any hope? Why, of course there is hope, but they didn't think it was. It was going on so long, and so much had gone wrong that they didn't think it was any hope. The prophet Zephaniah proclaims the day of restoration, when God's people shall be returned to righteousness, to justice, and to peace. He's saying the day is coming when they're going to be returned to righteousness, and to justice, and to peace. It's coming. It ain't happened yet now. That's one thing to be in the woods and somebody talking to you about what it's going to be like when you're out of the woods and you're still in the woods. The lesson aim, sin against God has consequences. Nevertheless, God never ceased to seek the redemption and restoration of his people. Now that's really a mouthful, because we have to unpack the fact that God is not our Santa Claus and just do all the wonderful things for us. And the only thing we can think that he would do is great things. But he says sin has consequences, and what they've been going through is the consequences of their sin. And so now he's saying, well, I'm going to fix that for you. I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to turn it around, bring back some joy. Life aim, trust in God's promises no matter what circumstances may cloud your life. Circumstances have a tendency to cloud your life, and of course we have some trouble dealing with life when we're behind the cloud, when it's dark in our life, when the sunshine ain't shining, when it looked like it's just dreary everywhere, and we don't know which way things are going. Young people sometimes believe they can act any kind of way, unconcerned of the action that might come after them. And all of us did in our earlier years. We didn't think, about no consequences, except for one thing we worried about was getting a whipping. And we didn't think nothing about God had consequences. Then, of course, we started reading Scripture, and Scripture says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days might be long upon the land Lord thy God giveth thee. And all of a sudden we started to understand, hey, there must be some consequences if we don't honor them, and if we don't do right by them, our days could be shortened. So we started to understand there are consequences to our sin. Yeah. And you learn that through faith journey. There is some consequences to bad action. We used to, run and jump and slide off the top of the barn and hit the ground and hurt ourselves, sprain an ankle, the consequences to all of our action. God has some promises for you, and He's gonna honor all those promises. Those promises are both when you're good, and some promises if you happen to look the other way and not pay Him any attention. Got some promises, we call those curses, and those things are automatic, a part of the law, that things going to happen to you. It's just the way it is. If you go out to the interstate and just stand in the middle of the road, you may not get hit right off, but sooner or later, if you keep standing there, you keep doing that, somebody gonna hit you. You're gonna get run over. That's just the consequences to your action. You can't expect not to have some consequences to your action. God says that's what happens. There are some consequences. On to the scripture. Look at what He's saying to them. He's open here with Zephaniah 3:14 through 16. He says, sing, O daughters of Zion. Go ahead on and sing, because I'm going to do this thing. O Israel, be glad, rejoice with all the heart. O daughters of Jerusalem, go ahead, rejoice now. You can go ahead and start. I know you aren't out to the woods yet. It doesn't look good yet, but you go ahead and rejoice, because I'm going to do this thing. It is good as done. The Lord has taken away thy judgment. He has cast out thine enemy. The King of Israel, even the Lord, is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil anymore. Boy, that's a big one there. I put an end to it. It's canceled. It's stopped. It's going in the other direction. You won't see it no more. It's over. The Lord may appoint a time for trouble, but He also appointed a time when it's over. One of the words in the scriptures in the Bible we hear sometimes, and folk was asking, what are the strongest words in the Bible? And one old fella says, and it came to pass. Now, that's one thing to say that it's gonna pass, but it's something else that says it came, and I know it came, but it came not to stay. It came to pass. It came to pass. It's not going to be with me forever. It's gone. It's gone. In that day it shall be said of Jerusalem, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thine hand be slack. Don't you forget now. You're going to get back. You're going to get back in good standing with God, but don't you forget. Sometimes that's what happens to us. We get back in good standing, and all of a sudden we just forget that we are in good standing, and we just go back to the old same behavior, same thing we used to do. And I just kind of think about it today. This COVID-19 has changed us tremendously, and our way of doing business, and we can't go back to the same normal We go back to a new normal. It's going to change the way we do things. And when we get back, we better make sure that we go back with a renewed understanding that God is all powerful and He ain't just in one corner of the world. He is God all over the world. This thing didn't stay in one corner. Everybody is affected. Verse 17, the Lord thy God is in the midst of thee, is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. Heaven will get happy about what's happening to you. And every time I come across a scripture like that, I'm reminded what Jesus said. There's more joy over one that repenteth than over 99 that's already just. One. It is to say that as He called back God's people back to an assembly with Him, that people will be gathering, people will be witnessing, people will get other folk to come to God and to change their life, and heaven is going to get happy. Lord, can you imagine what happens when God get happy? Lord, happy. You know, when we get happy, you know, we like to do good things for people. You know, we're just happy, and so we feel like doing wonderful things. Imagine what it feels like, what God would be doing if He's happy and pleased with us. That's what He's saying I'm going to do. And verse 18 says, I'm going to gather them that are sorrowful. That's what I'm going to do. For a solemn assembly. I'm going to let them come back to an assembly who are of thee, to whom the reproach was a burden. I'm gonna let them come back. I'm gonna get that burden off of them. I'm gonna fix it. We used to sing a song, "Let Jesus Fix It," and then He'll fix it for you. And then somebody else was singing something, "Anyway you fix it, Lord, it'll be all right with me." Well, He gonna fix it. That's what it is. You might not know what it needs to be fixed, because sometimes we get in the way of Him fixing it because we think we know what we ought to be receiving. But let God do what God do, and you do what you are supposed to do. Verse 19 said, behold, at that time I will undo all affliction. Boy, we are afflicted now. All that are afflicted, that have afflicted thee, I will serve her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. I'm going to make sure they get some praise. They're going to, instead of people talking about them bad, they're going to be talking about them good. Look at them. And then, you know, we look at Malachi, and Malachi get to talking about, you know, bring the tithes in the storehouse, and how it is that if you do that, God's going to open the windows of heaven and pour you out some blessings that you won't have room for. And then it goes on to say, nations shall call you blessed. Hallelujah. Nations are going to call you blessed. They're going to see what God's doing for you and through you and with you, and they can't help but see it with the natural eye and call you blessed. Yeah. So He says, I'm going to get you some praise where they've been calling and making you feel shame. Verse 20 said, and at that time I will bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth. When I turn back your captivity before your eyes, says the Lord. I'm going to turn back your captivity before your eyes. You're going to see it. It's going to be clear to you that God done this. God made this right. And then we'll be able to say, you know, God's justice is really justice. God has a way of doing things. And so I'm happy because He has everything under His control. They said this will happen, you know, And we'll discover this in our journey with him. You know, not an overnight thing, but we'll discover this in our journey with him. Stay with the Lord. Let the Lord work with you. Let him shape you. Let him mold you into what he wants you to be. And watch him do what he promised. Return your joy. All right? Once again, we want to thank you for listening to our part of the Sunday school lesson for this session, and we wish that you would just get into church, and it's about to happen. Think about that for a minute. It's about to happen. It's coming. And let's get in there and rejoice and thank God. You can start rejoicing now, because God is going to fix this thing. All right? Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.